It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. That's what we told Jennifer Lee Chan, NBC Sports. I thought I got better throughout minicamp and just got more comfortable with the system. So I still got to study and go through the process of continuing to learn the system, but I'm excited for it. It's been very fun so far. All right, not very meaty, but reflective of what a lot of people who lean Darnold in the Darnold Trey Lance competition have said. Right, this guy's still got a long way to go. If he's even now, it'll only get better. Okay, so we'll talk about that, and really, I think talk about what the preseason looks like in the competition between Darnold and Trey Lance. 5.5 weeks before the 49ers' first preseason game at the Raiders. Trey Sermon's not here to take the workload, so somebody else is going to have to do something. So we'll get into that. What's up? If you're watching live, morning. If you're not, whatever time it is, that's the beauty of the tube and consumer-controlled media consumption. It is Thursday morning. If you're watching along with coffee, that's great. And we're just hanging out, reacting to takes, waking up with takes, reacting to takes. Darnold needs reps. And the question that I think came out of minicamp is just practice enough for Kyle Shanahan to make a determination? Remember, it wasn't just practice that was part of the evaluation of Purdy versus Sudfeld last year. You know, for those who, and I think maybe it was just Larry Krueger coming out of camp who said, boy, but this Brock Purdy guy looks really good. Like really as a take, not like one day Brock Purdy made a good throw, but really as a take. That was not a very common take. And, they let him play. Last year was kind of representative because Kyle had a real competition last year. The difference was it wasn't for starting quarterback, at least not initial, or it wasn't for starting quarterback. And that it was for the number 3 spot. So whoever lost that job was going to get cut, right? But when you go back and look, you don't have to go back and look. I did it, so you don't have to. At what the Niners preseason was last year. Trey Lance played in weeks 1 and week 3, and actually, played a fair amount in week 3. Played a quarter and a half. Played 2 series in week 1. His last throw, you might remember it. It was against the Packers and Jordan Love. He threw a touchdown to Danny Gray over the top, and almost got sacked on the first play because Justin School came in for Mike McGlinchey on that series. Then Nate Sudfeld played the second and the third series, and then Brock second and third quarter, and then Brock played the fourth quarter. Second preseason game, it was all Purdy and Sudfeld. They split. They alternated. They didn't. You get the first quarter, I get this. First and second, I get the third and the fourth. They alternated. Third and final preseason game, Trey Lance got 3 series. He was the starting quarterback. Played 3 series, and then Purdy and Sudfeld alternated. So this is, it's been the most interesting kind of quarterback situation of this offseason. Definitely once Aaron Rodgers landed in New York. And it's going to be by far, the most interesting competition of the preseason. And again, the preseason starts in 5.5 weeks. So, the question is, does Kyle view Darnold's unknown, right? The fact that Darnold is still a work in progress. How could he not be? He's competing against guys who've been here for multiple years in Trey's case. And, he needs rest. He hasn't tried to run any of this offense against a defense that might hit him. And, Kyle's offense it's funny. Kyle's offense is great for quarterbacks, but it's also, a lot for them to learn. I remember I've mentioned it. If you're an OG listener to the podcast, I've mentioned it many times over the years. Before the Falcons played the Patriots in the Super Bowl several years ago, Shanahan and almost a decade ago, well, I guess 8 years, 7 years. Shanahan and Matt Ryan did a sit-down piece, Super Bowl week leading up to it. And the point of the piece was you guys getting to know each other over a couple years now. What's your relationship like? And it was clear that it was a little challenging at first for Matt to adjust to Kyle. Then it turned out it was well worth his time to do it because he, had a great time, a productive time with him. But one of the things they asked Matt to do was repeat back a Kyle Shanahan play call. And I remember at the time watching it and going like, I got to write this down. Exit to east, right, nasty, 2 scat Cherokee, can 3 scat, both hammer over. And I think he got it wrong. He had one word off and got corrected. So there's, when you think about what Darnold's got to learn, that's a lot to learn. Exit to east, right, nasty. I can only ever remember the exit to east, right, nasty. 2 scat Cherokee, can 3 scat, both hammer over. So he needs the reps. Now, this is why the mechanical improvement, I think, for Trey Lance was really important. He's got to show the 49ers and Kyle that there's something to be gained, right? That he can be better. Kyle has probably been intrigued with Darnold for a long time. We know. We mentioned this the other day. We replayed the John Lynch interview from 2017 and the Parag Marathe interview from 2017. A lot of options were on the table for the Niners. And before Jimmy Garoppolo won 5 straight games at the end of that year, they were barreling towards the top of the draft and a decision. And maybe it was going to be Baker Mayfield. Winless Browns got him. But I think it was likely going to be Sam Darnold. So, it's fair to say that Kyle's been at minimum intrigued with Sam Darnold for a while now. So Trey has to keep showing that he's got some upside. Here is Darnold saying what a lot of people have been saying for the last few weeks. I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better than I've been. And, him and Trey, when we look at what Kyle did last year in the preseason, they're going to get some snaps to duke it out. And that's where we're really going to see. Because, the Darnold has been such a he's been such a quarterback to debate. Although there really hasn't been much debate for several years, it hasn't been good. There's been nothing to debate. But the end of last year, if you watched at the end of his season, as I did, as a lot of people have, there were flashes. Yep. There were things that are concerning. And for me, one of the main concerns, one of the main reasons to watch Sam Darnold play in the preseason is, does the ball come out quickly? Athleticism and playmaking ability, great. Getting the ball out to the right spot quick is preferred. And I think that is a flaw of his. I think he's going to hold on to the ball. And then you got the whole dynamic with Trey, who we're in this weird kind of catch-22 of, can he win the job? Can he beat out Darnold? Can he be the backup? Could he start week 1 if Brock can't? And also, what's his trade value? Could you make him look good for a trade before the trade deadline? All that stuff. Maybe we'll do something. I got a good DM from somebody making the case for why Atlanta would be the destination for him for Trey if there was such a thing to happen. So, this stuff is this Joey says a player is learning an offense. Yeah, it's not anything crazy. It's a confirmation of what everybody else has been saying, but it leads us to the preseason in 5.5 weeks where they're going to play real games, and where I think it's probably likely that even if Darnold doesn't know the offense as well as Trey, what would you do if you were Kyle Shanahan? Especially if you like him, right? You want to keep working with him. You think there's something there. The same thing he does with every other quarterback, mostly puts them in positions to succeed, gives them open receivers, gives them easy throws, gives them a run game. Will they get protection? I don't know. Time will tell, right? But they are going to get snaps, right? And that is kind of what that quote, because like, as I said at the beginning, it's not that meaty, but what it made me do was go back and look at last year's preseason and just think about, how is Kyle Shanahan going to manage the preseason with these guys? I think if Brock looks like he's going to be healthy for the opener, I think we see some of Brock in that 3rd preseason game. But without Brock in the first preseason game and with some Brandon Allen, maybe it will be just those 2 guys alternating for 3 quarters and then some Brandon Allen in the 4th. That is basically, it's not exactly what Kyle did last year. Trey Lance got the first quarter, Sudfeld got the second and the third, Brock got the 4th. But, that's what this one is shaping up to be. Those 2 guys play 2.5 quarters, basically, and then, or 1.5 quarter each, and then Brock gets the fourth. What do you do in the second preseason game, right? If Brock is trending towards being available for the, for the opener, which also means being available the week or 2 weeks before the opener. And remember, that third preseason game is not a week before the opener; it's 2. But if he's trending towards being available, then maybe those guys just split every rep in the second preseason game. If he's trending towards not being available, well, you still need those guys to play, especially if Sam Darnold is still a work in progress or wherever he's at with the playbook. But one of them might be your starting quarterback, 3 weeks from then? So does that affect how they play? But I would expect at this point with Brock on schedule that those two guys basically split the second preseason game. And then in that third preseason game, if Brock's on track, Brock gets a series or two. I mean, do you want him rolling into Pittsburgh? If he's healthy enough to play 2 weeks out, rolling into Pittsburgh without having thrown one real live pass, I think he plays. I think that's what Kyle would do. And then they alternate those two after, maybe little Brandon Allen. Now, maybe he's not really ready to see live action 2 weeks out. And they're like, well, he'll be ready for the season, but he's not ready 2 weeks out. And then those guys keep duking it out. Is Kyle going to need 3 preseason games to determine? In his head, probably not. But it also got me looking at some of the backup situations around the league. Because I said earlier, the most interesting backup situation around the league, who's into ranking backup situations? This guy. Before I get into some interesting battles, how about this nugget? Blaine Gabbert. Little trivia question. Because yesterday the trivia question was, who does Bobby Wagner play for? And the answer was the Seahawks. Blaine Gabbert, still in the league. Patrick Mahomes is backup. Niners will play the Chargers in the preseason. They've got the incumbent. I'd like to look for teams whose starting quarterbacks have been hurt, right, or who have been banged up. Easton Stick and Max Duggan from TCU. Marcus Mariota and the Eagles. Tanner McKee, who they got. Maybe some thought of value pick. We'll see. Not really an athletic match to Mariota and Jalen Hurts. But, I think Howie Roseman saw in years past the Eagles create value out of backup quarterbacks. A lot of teams have created value. Jimmy Garoppolo being one out of a backup quarterback. Now we're talking about maybe a third stringer here, but maybe that's part of what the Eagles are trying to do there, create some value out of Tanner McKee. The Saints with Derek and Jameis, and, we're partial to Jake Haener here on this station. Stetson Bennett and the Rams. Not just because he's Stetson Bennett, but because their quarterback's been hurt. Matthew Stafford's been hurt. So there's one to watch there. Backup quarterback Zach Wilson and the Jets. Mike White versus Skylar Thompson in Miami. Remember, we've talked about Skylar Thompson as being maybe a guy that the Niners would have liked. Mike McDaniel drafted him ahead of the Niners taking Brock Purdy. It's not being viewed as a competition right now, but Bailey Zappi has at times been interesting in New England, and now Bob is there. Bill O'Brien is there. So, how does he look if Mac Jones is getting booed in the preseason or anything like that? So those are some of the interesting ones. Maybe I'm missing a couple, but I think that's it. I mean, not counting, the rookie quarterback starters like Anthony Richardson, whatever, those guys, CJ Stroud, those aren't really the same types of competitions. It's their jobs. So, that's what we dove into this morning. Where are we at in the preseason? 5.5 weeks from now. Case 49, saying Darnold might beat out Lance's code for Lance is a bust. First of all, I don't think there's got to be any code. I don't think there's any code for it failed. It's, as I said the other day, if you draft a guy third, he's not your starting quarterback by year 3. It didn't go well. But Sam's still got it. This thing has to actually happen. Like, Sam Darnold has to be a work in progress he's got to progress, and he's got to play, and he's got to be better. This is the debate, right? Or does he just have to be as good? Maybe that's what Kyle's up to. Brock ain't playing week 1, even if he's cleared, says Jeep. Why not? Because Kyle just really wants to see Sam Darnold play? Maybe. Kurt says, I thought third preseason game and regular season was more like 3 weeks apart. Oh, is it? I remember it being very long. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's like 2.5. I've got the schedule right here. Let's get this right. 2023 preseason is August 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th. And then regular season week 1 is September 7th. So, what was that, 2 weeks? August 27th is like a Monday. August 27th is a Saturday. So 1 week, and then the opener is September. Oh God, I'm in 2022. No wonder. 27th is a Sunday, so 1 week, and then it's 2 weeks, and then the following September 7th is the opener, is a Thursday. So, and then September 10th, everyone kicks off. So it's two weeks. But to your point, Kurt, like you do get a fair amount of like Friday game. So it feels, I mean, it is longer than 2 weeks, but it's not. It's not 3 weeks. Where did the stream go? There we go. Checking through a calendar is only the only thing less interesting is doing math. Ray, where's Middlekoff? Probably poolside. Probably in a pool. Probably in a pool or golfing. This is why we will start off slow once again. You mean because you got a quarterback competition going every preseason / an injury? Sam's got a lot of tape out there, says Bangums. Sam does have a lot of tape out there. Yes. This is why I don't get tired of the Sam Darnold stuff and the Trey Lance stuff, because it's been a combination of there's a lot going on, but not a lot has happened. For Sam, a lot has happened. None of it with Kyle Shanahan, who's pretty well established. He's good for quarterbacks. For Trey, a lot has happened, but hardly anything has happened on the field with Kyle Shanahan, who is pretty well established, good for quarterbacks. Like, in theory, both of these guys, if you just said Sam Darnold or Trey Lance gets 10 games to play for Kyle Shanahan, both of them should come out 10 games later better than they are right now. That's what history tells us about Kyle's quarterback. Not necessarily better for somebody else, but at least somewhat maximizing their potential. Yeah, musical chairs once again. No one believes in Sam. What Sam is? No, I think the Kyle element, to me, like, if it doesn't work with Kyle, this was on a much lower level. How many teams had Josh Rosen been on by the time he got to the 49ers? I mean, he had been like, were the Niners his fourth team, his fifth team? Niners were his fourth team and his second team of 2020, because he'd been practice squad cut by the Bucs. It's not the same, because he, for whatever you think of Sam in terms of his pro production, Rosen's was worse. But it was, I remember that I probably felt, I know a lot of people did, like, okay, you come to the Niners. If it doesn't work with Kyle, it's not working at all. And, he's still got a few more chances, but he was, that was it. Is he on a roster right now? Or is he done playing? He finished last year on the practice squad with the Vikings. Yeah. Anthony, once the Bullets go live, I'm betting on Trey. Look, my take out of minicamp, I've said it a million times. Sorry to beat you over the head with it. It was even. So as Darnold continues to learn, will he continue to improve? Will he be quicker than Trey? Yeah, I that's a fine bet. Now it's a fine bet. It's a fine bet. Kyle doesn't have a QB after 7 years. History tells us Kyle doesn't commit to any QB. He's always looking for a side chick. I do think they would have committed to Jimmy if Jimmy was healthy. When they said that we're drafting a quarterback because our quarterback isn't healthy, I thought, nah, this is you've realized that Jimmy's not good enough to win it all, and you are correctly taking a big swing. I was in favor of it. With hindsight, I think if he'd been healthy, they'd stuck with him. Evan says Trey versus Sam is a story of accuracy versus decision making. If Sam wins, it's because Kyle thinks he can keep him on a short leash. Trey's leash doesn't matter if he can't hit the open guy. If Sam wins, because Kyle, again, I mean, Sam's got we'll see. The ball's got to come out of Sam's hands. That has been an issue for him. He holds on to the football. It's not good. Current odds, we draft the first round quarterback in 24. Low. But you're not going to like why. Kirk Cousins is available. The last time the Niners had a high first round pick right before they got Jimmy, not the last time. They've had high first round picks since then. But they've had an offseason like they've had this season already, or this, that offseason where they've got a quarterback, they're headed into the offseason, and Kirk Cousins is going to be a free agent. Sam Goff. Goff's better. A lot better. Or Sam fumbles. Yeah. Paul says Threads or Twitter. I've not spent a lot of time on Twitter. I've not spent a lot of time on IG in the last couple of months or on social period. Spent a lot of my time on Facebook and Nextdoor. Kidding. Threads. Downloaded it yesterday. Have barely investigated it. The only thing I noticed was I just, because you could just immediate sync everything from IG. That happened. And then I saw that nobody had posted and I just left. And I thought, well, I've got it now. I guess if it takes off, I can jump back in. But I have not investigated it much. I will vomit Exorcist style if Cousins ever becomes a Niner. The problem with it will be is that it will look okay for a while. And then you're going to get to the postseason. And it won't look as okay. Luca, how are we going to justify giving Kirk $30 million guaranteed, especially if we have to justify not paying Brandon Ayuk to get him here? $30 million might feel like a discount to Kirk. And I think that's a scenario where Kirk would have to take less money to play for Kyle Shanahan. If Brandon Allen steps up, then we have a nice practice squad quarterback. Yeah, but how are you going to keep Brandon Allen? I mean, you look at some of these QB depth charts around the league, and you've got worse quarterbacks on them than Brandon Allen. Brandon Allen I thought he looked good. But, he's let me see here. Mike White, no. Bailey Zappi, maybe, but no. Zach Wilson, I guess, is just staying around. Yeah, it's funny. The Bengals had a try. That's what happened with the Bengals and Brandon Allen. He just preferred to come here and maybe play. Trevor Simeon's there. Mitchell Trubisky in Pittsburgh and Mason Rudolph still hanging around. Gardner Minshew in Indy, he's not going anywhere. Beathard is the Jags backup. Levis and Malik Willis. Stidham, they signed him. Gabbert mentioned him. Hoyer and Aiden O'Connell not going anywhere. Chargers are good. PJ Walker is the Browns backup, the Bears backup. Sudfeld kind of matches Goff's playing style, and they added Hendon Hooker, who's not going to be healthy right away, but will be healthy. He'll be available probably the second month of the season. Maybe Green Bay. Sean Clifford is their backup, who's a 5th-round pick this year, Penn State. So maybe they could use a backup quarterback with some experience. Nick Mullins in Minnesota, Jaron Hall, who they drafted out of BYU in the 5th round. Heineke is in Atlanta now. Dalton is in Carolina with Matt Corral, Jameis Trask. Yeah, I mean, maybe there wouldn't be a spot for him. Trask, and Baker at Tampa's just trying to get Caleb Williams. Obviously, Bennett, Rippon, yeah, maybe there's not a spot for him. Maybe he will stay on the 49ers, but he feels like he's better than a practice squad quarterback. Tyler Huntley, Pro Bowler. Brock is often criticized for rolling left, but is there a more trusted left tackle in the league? I don't criticize Brock for rolling left. I'm terrified when he spins blindly to his left, guessing that the defender has bit on some other fake. Jay, why do people think Sam Darnold is inaccurate? Career 59% completion. Yeah. The I see dead people thing. No, was it not dead people? Ghosts. It wasn't ghost. Dead people's ghosts. I've seen a ghost. That has stuck with him, unfortunately. That's why guys refuse to be honest. Wood Gravy says normal Kurt is good, but primetime Kurt lines up under a guard instead of a center. Yeah, Kurt Cousins. I think Allen could be QB2 long term. He could be. He could be. Eventually. So, Andres. So the Vikings are just going to be tanking this year for Caleb. Who knows what the Vikings are doing? It's unclear what the Vikings are doing. Ideally, in an ideal world, they would have gotten rid of Kirk Cousins, but they couldn't have done that. Too expensive. They won a bunch of they win 13. They win 13 games last year, 12 games last year. And they're not going to be as good this year. So they're not probably going to be bad enough to get Caleb Williams. Are they going to be bad enough to get, they went 13-4. Are they going to be bad enough to get Drake May? Somebody's probably going to have to trade up. I think Michael Penix is going to be good value. If he gets through this season healthy, then he will be a first rounder in the NFL. He's a good player. Michael Penix, who's the Washington Huskies quarterback, is a really good player. Those are really good deep ball. He's not particularly mobile. He's not immobile, but he's not, that guy, not Caleb. But those guys are going to go 1-2, Drake May. So how many games do you have to win and still be in range of getting up to number 2? Maybe number 3. You're going to have to give up a lot, which is fine. You give up a lot, but yeah, they're not getting Caleb Williams. That's the beauty of Kirk Cousins. He's not going to be that terrible. If he gets hurt, they'll be terrible. Yeah, good QB draft. So Carlton says, shouldn't Sam's stock go up because of Kyle? These are all things in theory. Yes. Shouldn't Trey's? Jaden Daniels is interesting at LSU. His stock, he started at Arizona State, played for Herm, played right away as a freshman, won on the road at Michigan State as a true freshman. It was a pretty eye-opening game. I thought at the time he was going to be the best quarterback in the pack. Like, he was the number 1 quarterback in the league. Things kind of stagnated. Not all his fault. Offense was weird. They could not find a coordinator. Herm obviously is out. Jaden Daniels leaves, goes to LSU, is now a Heisman candidate, and has a lot of talent. Michael Penix is a joy to watch. Agreed. Injury history is a nightmare. I think that's Sam related. Well, welcome. Fit right in. All right. Good talk. I got some, we'll see. We'll see what else we got cooking maybe Friday morning. I was reading some stuff yesterday that was interesting. So we might take a fiat. Anyway, thanks to Jennifer Lee Chan for talking to Sam Darnold and posting that a couple days ago, because it created a jump off point. Sometimes people react to the headline or to the thumbnail, and you get like 4 or 5 words to try and hit on part of what a conversation's gonna be, and you never want it to be, clickbait. The crazy thing Sam Darnold said. But it is part of the conversation. But if the headline was Sam Darnold said some normal shit, Nobody's interested in that. And the point of it is to jump off into a larger conversation. So that's where the headlines or the thumbnails come from. I don't judge somebody for a headline or a thumbnail description that is not exactly, I think you do want to, like, hey, if you clicked on it, then you're interested in that particular topic. So you do owe it to the listener, the viewer, to give them that thing that you said you're going to give them. That's part of it. But and then you hope you can spin it into some other conversation if it's something that's not as meaty, like Sam's comments, but it is of note that Sam Darnold spoke. That you spin it into something, and hopefully we can have a conversation, get something out of it. I look at it's very simple. A lot of people look at it this way. They say this, right? But you just look at it like the number of conversations I have about whatever topic, in this case, the 49ers, where it's just a casual, it doesn't start with like, did you see there's a trade rumor for Trey? It starts with something as simple as, see what Sam Darnold said? Or is Sam Darnold going to play? It's actually simpler. My neighbor's dad the other day wanted to talk Niners. He's like, so who's going to be the quarterback? Right? It's always very simple. And then it becomes something else. So that's kind of how these things are built anyway. Oh, Penix related. Yeah, he's had an awful injury history, and last year he was healthy for the first time. And what happened? He led the nation in passing. Very good offensive coaches too. Very good offensive coaches. Kalen DeBoer's a good coach, his head coach, and his offensive coordinator, Alabama tried to hire. So he set up. By the way, college football, Washington, they've got elite receivers. They're all back. Their offensive line, pretty stacked. Their defense, they bring back one of the best pass rushing combinations in the country. Linebackers are good. Got a good transfer running back. Have a good schedule. Go to Michigan State this year. So they're going to be, the Pac-12 has 4 of the top 5 Heisman candidates at quarterback, I think. Plus Shador Sanders and a lot going on. Anyway, we can talk about college football for another 30 minutes, but I got to get to Half Moon Bay for a tea time. Ocean course. All right. Thanks for hanging. If you're here, by the way, if you want to go to a game, if you're going to a concert, Charlie Puth, I think, is at the Greek tonight. Is that accurate? I heard Charlie Puth is at the Greek tonight in Berkeley, which I wish I could go because I love me some Charlie Puth, but very talented. But if you want to buy tickets to something, or you want to go to a game or a show or a play, use the GameTime app. I've used it multiple times. I went to the theater, and I went to Giants Mariners. GameTime app, promo code HAM, gets you $20 off. GameTime app, promo code HAM, $20 off. And 12 o'clock on the tea time, hour drive. They don't have a range out there at Half Moon Bay. It's the Ritz. No room for range at the Ritz. So I might pop over to the range here for a few minutes before I hit the road. And GameTime app. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's what I was trying to say. Send it to somebody, and have a great day. Talk soon. Later, everybody. Thanks for hanging. Oh, maybe we should do some college. Should we do some college football talk here at some point? Maybe we'll do some college football talk. All right, later, everybody.